We have plenty of lawyers who know about practicing law. What we need is that innovation headset and really, honestly, a fearlessness to try new things, to challenge convention, and help us get better.
Now give it to me.
You spoke a little while ago about failures. Has there been any sort of major catastrophes that's happened during your time?
One thing I've learned is just because I clearly see why the end state is going to be a better place, not everybody sees that.
How much legal knowledge versus tech knowledge do you think somebody in this role needs?
I don't think the legal knowledge is essential at all. We're not that mysterious after all. But the toughest part is actually changing the way you work. And what we have found is this is a great way to discover new talent within our teams. People kind of rise up out of the mist. And they're early adopters, they're enthusiasts, they're leaders, they're innovators, and it's a fabulous way to showcase other people on the team and get a whole new lens on them.
What has been the outcome
Yes.
of this innovation? Like, what does it actually mean for Dentsu, for the business? I'll start with that.
Right. What it has to mean is speed to contract, which means speed to cash. So really, honestly, quicker revenue recognition. So at every step of the way, we have to be the very best partner, beating out very sophisticated competitors. And that includes their experience with the legal department. So everything we can do to make that easier, we want to do.
Today, I'm very lucky to be joined by Alison Zoellner, Global General Counsel or Group General Counsel of Dentsu. Before we kick off, Alison, just love for you to introduce yourself.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about who is Alison?
Absolutely. And Dentsu.
And Dentsu, yes.
So I am here on the behalf of a large legal team at Dentsu. Dentsu is a Japanese company, one of the largest advertising companies in the world, and we have the privilege of representing 100 of the world's largest advertisers. So a super cool, fun place to work. And we have a large legal team, about 250 lawyers outside of Japan, and then a large legal team in Japan as well. So a big community, and we consider ourselves on the vanguard of innovation, and we're tech enthusiasts.
Good. Well, considering we're talking about innovation and tech, I feel like I'm in good company.
Yes.
Hopefully you got lots of great stuff to share. And I think it's great to be talking to you, being forward-thinking. I think you've been an early adopter of tech. Let's start with the evolving role, like how the role of GCs has changed since you began your career.
I think it's become that all-around capability is required now, and we're very fortunate that our role continues to come up the food chain. And our CEOs, our CTOs, our CMOs, every partner on the functional side as well as the business relies more and more on us to be that strategic voice in the room. So it's a great privilege to continue to expand our influence. And I think we like to think that there's very few things we can't add value to in a way that's a little bit different through that legal lens, but also with the same business sensibility.
And like previously or traditionally, legal teams and GCs have been quite in the trenches doing legal work. And I feel like now it's transforming and GCs are expected to be leading digital transformation projects, not just within their teams, but as part of a company-wide transformation that we're seeing. How's that played out at Dentsu?
Well, that's exactly what it is we're lucky that it's a very collaborative team environment. So we're part of the tech stack conversations when we're thinking of the value chain in terms of lead to cash and converting cash, really going along the blocking and tackling of how do we make money? How do we serve our clients? We're in that discussion because, of course, legal does the contracting, which is a key part of that, in addition to advising on pitching and advising on the clients during the life cycle of it and products. Creative innovation, of course, has a lot of legal aspects. So we are baked in to all the processes, and therefore we have to have our technology baked in to all the processes. So it has to be one value chain, not little off-ramps or cul-de-sacs. Okay, now I'm going to go in a legal corner and then I'll emerge later and let you know how it goes. It all has to work together in sync. And so that's our mindset, is how do we click in to the Dentsu ecosystem.
And as you guys can maybe see, we've got a bit of a different setting here today. We're in a hairdresser's. So as our guest, Alison, we're going to get your hair. It's already looking great, but primmed up. It's a Friday after all. So Andrew is here.
Oh, yeah, you okay?
Thank you.
No problem.
So we can continue.
Yeah.
So you mentioned when we spoke before that you have a small but very mighty legal ops team.
Yes.
Can you just tell me, like, when was the inception of this team? What did he do? How is it evolving now?
It's actually a great story because we had a really valued colleague at Dentsu who had been a data protection expert, thinking about when GDPR came in and how that would get operationalized at Dentsu. This was a person who came from consulting. He had a technology background, is a finance whiz, so a very different toolkit than some of us lawyers. And we sort of drug him into our team, and he has turned out to be a complete game changer for us, Russell. And he's now been building out his team, including not only people here in London, but also offshore in Bangalore. And so he's helping us navigate all these key aspects of our strategy, which would be the technology, including AI, of course, using resources flexibly around the world, having the right person doing the right work in the right place at the right cost. And then, of course, he is this futurist. So he's constantly surveying what other people are doing. We talked about earlier that he's going to clock, but he's benchmarking us all the time. How are we holding up in this legal ecosystem as it's evolving, and bringing people in to talk to us, constantly trialing every product. I don't think I've ever sent him an email and said, what is this? He's like, oh, yeah, I tried that. I met with them. I mean, he's just very in the vanguard of thinking about this. And as a GC, I need that partner.
And about his background, and you mentioned it a little bit, but like, how much legal knowledge versus tech knowledge do you think somebody in this role needs?
I don't think the legal knowledge is essential at all. We're not that mysterious after all. I think it's pretty easy to pick up on the fly, and he is absolutely embedded within our teams. He is the heartbeat of our team, so he's very knowledgeable about what we do, our work, of course, the company. But frankly, it's the complementary skills he brings. We have plenty of lawyers who know about practicing law. What we need is that innovation headset and really, honestly, a fearlessness to try new things, to challenge convention, and help us get better.
To those slower moving legal teams that are maybe following suit to people like yourself and companies like Dentsu, what would you say they need to look for when building a legal ops team? Like, what are the skills required? You touched on it a little bit, and in terms of their role and how they sort of interact between the legal departments and the rest of the company, like how does that look?
It's that last point you're making has turned out to be the X factor. Russ is the best bridge we have to the rest of the company. And kind of like I was saying, there's never some technology or innovation that I ask him about that he hasn't already sussed out and has a point of view on. He knows 100 times more people at Dentsu than I know, and I know a lot of people. And when we travel around, if you find someone in Dentsu, more often than not, they'll say, oh, yes, Russ and I worked on that, and he came to me, and we innovated. So he has this ability to navigate our network as a technologist, as someone who helps me with the budget, as someone who will get deep into the weeds with the engineers. He flourishes in all these different areas, and credit to him, he then helps us bring all of that together to facilitate what we need to do in legal.
Is there like a single most effective tool or type of tool that's been introduced recently that's had the biggest impact, and what was it?
Yes. Well, this is not an infomercial, but we really love Harvey. Russ and his colleague, Rob Clark, who's one of our most senior lawyers and another futurist technologist, they worked really hard to get Harvey for us through our partnership with Microsoft. And
how long did it take? Sorry to say.
They are magicians, so they get this idea, and Harvey's been incredibly user-friendly to deal with. And as I say, it was sort of fit into our Microsoft partnership. Microsoft is our biggest technology partner. And so they were able to sort of stand it up on a pilot basis very quickly. And then we've now going to arrange for our entire function to have Harvey.
Okay, so all 300 or so.
Yeah, well, yes. My Japanese colleagues, we just demoed it for them last week, and they were very intrigued. I don't know that all of them will use it, but definitely we're going to be piloting in Japan as well.
What's the user, speaking to many GCs, the user adoption always comes up as a
Yes.
challenge,
Yes.
investing big in tech and then
Yeah.
the team's not using it
That's right.
to its full capability. How have you dealt with that?
Well, it's so interesting. It's a great different lens on your teams to put these tools out there. And of course, we spend tons of time thinking about the tool before we deploy it because of the highways littered with carcasses of failures in this area, not at Dentsu, but generally. So we're very mindful that we spend a ton of time picking a technology before deploying it. And we don't have a lot of money to spend, so we have to be super careful. We're stewards of the company's assets. We can't really blow it. And we are very constrained in our spending. So we put all the time in on the front end to make sure it is user-friendly and that people will adopt it. So we feel very comfortable, and we do tons of UAT, tons of beta, tons of feedback, and Russ has been extraordinary in getting that. So everybody's bought in.
There's going to be loads of people trying to hire Russ after this.
Russ, lose his number. No, you can't take him. But by the time we get there, people have heard about it for a long time. So they're mentally prepared. But the toughest part is actually changing the way you work. And that's where lawyers and all of us, who are very, very busy and stressed out and what you're comfortable with, and then changing that, it's by definition, it's always more time to learn a new skill. And you're saying, let me just get my work done. I don't really have time for this. And what we have found is this is a great way to discover new talent within our teams. People kind of rise up out of the mist who I might not have known, or who, frankly, their, skip level person might not have known. And they're early adopters, they're enthusiasts, they're leaders, they're innovators. And it's a fabulous way to showcase other people on the team and get a whole new lens on them. And frankly, it's a bit of a litmus test.
Yeah. Interesting. And how do you measure, so two things, like what has been the outcome of this innovation? Like what does it actually mean for Dentsu, for the business? I'll start with that.
Right. What it has to mean is speed to contract, which means speed to cash. So really, honestly, quicker revenue recognition. And we want to have less friction in how we contract with our clients. We always want to show up for our clients in a way that's super user-friendly. We're in a highly competitive field. So their whole experience from the moment that we're involved, our clients compete us, so we're in RFPs to get our work. So at every step of the way, we have to be the very best partner, beating out very sophisticated competitors. And that includes their experience with the legal department. So everything we can do to make that easier, we want to do.
I was speaking I speak to a lot of GCs. It's unfortunate.
Yes, my condolences.
And they struggle, a lot of them, to get the budget for innovation projects when you have all other departments competing for budget. How do you build a business case to get sign off? I don't know how much Harvey costs. We can talk about that here, but I imagine it's not an insignificant investment.
Well, we had a good funding situation where we had the opportunity to demo it for not a very big investment. And then what you can quickly see, and we use this, I'd say this methodology consistently with all of our investment. And I would consider it's not a dissimilar when you're hiring people, when you're investing in an offshore capability, when you're using technology, even when you're using outside law firms, it's the same headset. Is, to your point, always be showing what is the return? Why is this necessary? And to be really rigorous. Some of our Japanese colleagues have a phrase that I love called the work diet. Is this something that actually has to get done? Does that get done this way? Is this the most efficient and effective way? Are we the right people to do it? So we really interrogate everything. And I'm looking for the KPIs to show that I can demonstrate that return to one of my ops colleagues or something like that. So we're looking for those granular returns, and we define those on the front end and then measure them.
So that starting small, and scaling it when it works.
And also when you have like we deployed LawView, I guess about 2 years ago, and that is a CLM and matter management system. And as I say, that space has a lot of failures. A lot of people pay a lot of money for CLMs that never take root. And I'm not declaring victory yet, but we're making extraordinary progress. And we have tens of thousands of contracts there, thousands of business users, which is critical. And so we've earned our seat at the table in terms of getting to that trust factor. And we, again, we're very careful stewards of the dollars. So that put us in good stead when we wanted to get involved with Harvey. They knew that we were going to be careful, we'd really use it, and we'd be super transparent for what the benefits of the corporation are.
Is it just the legal teams using Harvey, or
No.
does this roll out across the company?
That's our mentality. Is we never want anything to be just for legal. In fact, we don't like even the term legal tech.
Mm-hmm.
We want our technology to be for Dentsu, for our business users. So everything we buy, we're never going to buy something where we're going to get whacked on a per seat license. We want to have an open architecture. So we invite our business community in to use our tools with us. We're all in the same swim lane.
Business-wide impact.
Yes, and also with Harvey and realizing we're in the early stages of what AI and law is going to look like. But Harvey is a great example where it's so easy to use, and we've been showing it to lots of our business users, and many of them are trialing it as well.
Oh, awesome. That's super interesting. I think there's loads of great nuggets in there. Do you have any advice for GCs to be resilient and to be successful in the years ahead, and also for younger people coming into the industry about how the world has changed? Any advice for people that want to succeed in a career in legal?
This is such a fun time to be in law with all the changes going on, and so much of this is intuitive. And also, it lets you get from point A to point Z much more quickly. Mm-hmm. For example, yesterday, I'm not UK qualified, as you might tell by my accent, but I needed to very quickly draft a document under UK law, and I needed a precedent. And I'm not calling a law firm. I just needed to come up with it. And that's something I could get in 10 seconds in Harvey. And then I can move on to my next strategic discussion I needed to have. So the way you spend your time right now, it's getting better and better with the technology, with AI, with having distributed teams. So I think there's a high degree of enthusiasm for coming in because everything is changing. And it's a great time if you want to come in and challenge the status quo. I know we welcome that, and I know a lot of other in-house teams are leaning into that. Why do we do it this way? Can we do it a different way? Mm-hmm. Who are the people we should be working with? Different skills, capabilities. So I think it's a very fun and energizing time to be coming into the field.
I think it's the only time I would ever consider a career like this. I'm not lazy. No. If I can do things quicker and better, I'll try and figure it out. You spoke a little while ago about failures. Has there been any sort of major catastrophes that's happened during your time, either at Dentsu or in previous roles, that you've learned from that maybe somebody else or other people in your sort of role can learn from?
Well, I think it's not necessarily a failure, but one thing I've learned, and I would always double down on this again, is just because I clearly see why the end state is going to be a better place, not everybody sees that. So even if I think it's super logical and this is going to make your life better, people can be very locked into the way they're doing something, particularly sometimes they've built it. If you don't have a system in a company, people are very innovative themselves and they'll build something. And then I come in and I say, no, we're going to do something globally. And they say, well, wait a minute. I love what I built and it's fantastic and the business loves it. And I think I could have gone back and spent more time unpacking with them. It's great that that's working for you, but we're a global organization where we need to operate seamlessly. I can't have you in a corner with just the contracts for France available to people in France. We serve the world's biggest advertisers all over the world. The person who services that advertiser needs to get all the contracts on one system 5 minutes before they walk into a meeting and understand everything. So little cul-de-sacs don't work. Mm-hmm. But I think it felt obvious to me, but it was not obvious to everybody. And it also probably merited more time, more unpacking with them, more listening. More listening is always a good thing, and giving them more time to understand why putting the work in now and changing in the change management would be worth it in the end. That I think we collectively could have spent more time on it, and I personally could have spent more time on that.
It makes sense, and I've witnessed similar stories before. And shifting it a little, curious to hear your views on how law firms are evolving, and I imagine you work with a lot of different law firms for different cases. What is your sort of evolving expectations for law firms? How would you like to see them evolve? How is the relationship between in-house and law firms also evolving?
I think it's very wildly disparate. It's even disparate down to whichever partner you end up talking to and his or her own comfort level with AI. And of course, at the law firms, there's the cost benefit analysis, because sort of like at Dentsu, where our clients are going to expect us to serve them more efficiently because of how we can use AI. I express that to my law firms. I ask them to work more efficiently using AI. And I think most law firms are continuing to figure out what that means for them. But it's not at all encouraging to me when they have a long list of reasons that they can't use it. That's a red flag. Think about it in the same way that at Dentsu, my end clients, the world's biggest advertisers, are using AI, are experimenting with AI. We can help them with that. So that means me and my law department, I need to be comfortable with AI so I can help you assess risk, help you navigate it, use enterprise tools, everything else like that. So in the same way, with the law firms need to understand that all of their clients are using AI. So they need to have that fluidity and enthusiasm and be able to deal with it as well.
Yeah.
Or they won't be able to meet us where we live.
And are you not seeing that? Is it some law firms different to others?
I think it's it's almost down to the partner, which is very strange. And then there's also many law firms who are, again, I get it. Our business model is under pressure. They're trying to figure out, well, can I make, as opposed to shaving the margins, can I make more money by having something proprietary here? And then they're going to build something. And let's see. Again, we're in the earliest of days, but certainly at Dentsu, we don't build, we partner. We're moving quickly. We're going to jump on trains that are already going fast and moving smoothly. But law firms seem to be spending a lot of time building things, and I have a small degree of skepticism about that. We'll see. Yeah. Maybe it turns out to be the greatest thing.
What are your thoughts on the law firm business model, like the partnership model, the billable hour, how they operate? Like I see some of these things as blockers to real innovation. Like what is the incentive to innovate? Like, what are your thoughts on that? And will that change?
I think it is under pressure already because the corporations who spend most of their dollars on law firms are under pressure. And law departments are under extraordinary pressure where we're not being able to hire more FTEs. So we're already getting squeezed. And then we have to make sure that we're carefully husbanding those resources and outside. So first of all, I don't go outside unless I have to. And AI means I have to even less. And so by the time I get there, I've got a really clear idea what I need. And sometimes I've even done a draft using AI, and I've narrowed down to the essence what I need from the law firm, which is really that super high level strategic advice, or what are other people doing here, which I can't otherwise find out. But I think we're being really bespoke and tailored and got a tight leash on what the law firms are doing. So I think that puts pressure on the law firms to make sure that they're delivering that super high quality, high end product. So for example, next time we're doing a large M&A deal, I will certainly expect for them to be using AI through the due diligence process, which used to be armies of junior associates. I'm not paying for that.
Yeah, so danger for those that fall behind. I mean, in other industries, and I've been in various different industries before, including advertising and marketing. We've seen the likes of Netflix replace Blockbuster. We've seen the way that Uber and Lyft and Bolt have disrupted the sort of taxi market. Airbnb has disrupted the way that we, disrupted hotels. Yes. Every industry, like in banking, has been disrupted. Do you see a Netflix type company coming in and disrupting law firms? Is it possible that something comes in and just changes the industry completely?
Well, I mean, think a little bit about the ALSPs. They have done a good job. The alternative legal service providers who are not bricks and mortar and who didn't need to have the fancy boardroom, a lot of the trappings of big law firms, but they have excellent legal counsel. They have carved out a huge niche. So that's already, we've already been disrupted several times, and I think we continue to be ripe for more disruption.
Yeah, it's a little bit scary, but also exciting. And I think the outcomes for society as a whole, if we innovate, can be better. Like a lot of people don't have access to justice.
That's right.
I think a lot of good can happen personally from
well,
innovation.
Also, and lawyers, I think, have some native curiosity. I think that is an absolute mandatory skill for lawyers to have that real curiosity. So it's a match, is being curious and wondering, how can we do this better, and how can we challenge? That's a real part of our job, is challenging the status quo. So it feels like it's a great time for these different strands to come together.
Do you have any, as we get close to wrapping up, any sort of wacky or futuristic views as to how law will look in 10, 20, 30 years compared to now?
Hopefully, the well-being aspects are able to be managed better. That's something we're keenly aware of in the law firms and in-house, is how can we have people be more dialed into the business, which is what most in-house, and in fact, external lawyers love too, is helping the business come to life, solving business problems, less admin, less chasing documents around. How can we sort of make AI do the parts of our job that we don't love and spend more time on the things where we add huge value for the corporation?
And you'd like to think mental health will get better.
Yes.
I've heard stories about people working in law firms 5 days straight, 6 a.m. in the morning, not sleeping.
No, and
we might not need to do that anymore with this.
No, as a profession, that's not anything we're interested in perpetuating. We want to attract, really interesting thinkers to our corner of the world, and really interesting thinkers can find lots of things to do. So we're competing for the really interesting thinkers. So we got to make it a good place to be.
Exactly. Do you have any final piece of advice for GCs, your peers, that want to succeed, or is there any sort of key takeaway message you want to share?
I think the key takeaway is to have that open aperture where you're hearing from lots of people who aren't lawyers and recognizing that they have a lot of value to add to the discussion, the technologists, the people in operations, obviously our business colleagues. But now is a great time to be rethinking with them, reinventing how we can better serve them.
Well, exciting times, and thank you. I was going to say to traveling all the way to London to see me, but I know you got a busy schedule while you're here. It's great to chat. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Can't wait for this event.
Yeah, me neither. It's going to be fun.
Really fun.
Thank you.